menu you have across the top, that's probably JavaScript. One
I
Java
believe,
symbol.
I'm not positive.
But then you can also do CSS.
Right, I think it's probably HTML and CSS, if I remember right.
The sitemap, pretty much.
The sitemap is HTML, yeah. And keeping that in HTML is definitely. So on the pages that you're optimizing, the page text itself is actually really important also. Google definitely wants to see text and content on the page that's relevant to your keywords. So you can put a keyword in the title tag. That doesn't guarantee that Google's going to think the site is relevant to it. It really does need some other content on the page to help it out. And one of the kind of buzzwords, especially a year or two ago that floated around, was keyword density. Keyword density is the number of times a keyword appears on your page divided by the total number of words on the page. There isn't a magic number. There isn't a magic number for that. We generally tell people somewhere between 5 and 8%. That's definitely just a guideline. But generally 5 to 8%, you have the keyword on the page a few times, but the content's still very readable. If a human comes to your site, you want it to be usable. You want people to find your site, attractive, usable, easy to read. So you definitely don't want to focus purely on optimizing for the search engine box. And finally, the meta tags. The main meta tags that you should worry about, especially just when you're first optimizing the site. The meta keywords tag, and again, your web developers will know what these are. The keywords tag isn't valued as much by Google anymore. A few years ago, people used it to really spam heavily. They would throw lots of high volume keywords in there to try and boost rankings on even completely irrelevant keywords. So the search engines don't value it very much anymore. It's generally fairly good practice to put your keywords in there, if nothing else, so you can go back and say, okay, here are the keywords that I'm looking at on this page. Another meta tag that's actually a little more important is the meta description tag. Again, this isn't necessarily valued that much by the search engines when they're looking at what your site is about. But when you search in Google or the other search engines, when your listing comes up, there's usually a little snippet of text below that. If you use a meta description tag, that will show up as the snippet. So you can really control what people are reading down there. So, another good tip to take home is on each page, put some kind of short, inviting meta description, kind of like you would put on an advertisement. And it does need to be fairly short, about 150 characters or less, including spaces. So that's not a whole lot of space to work with, a little bit more than a page search ad, though. Yes?
I had a question about the page text.
Oh, sure.
I've read that not only is keyword density important, but also that their rankings are different if you have a single or a double or three-column layout. Have you heard about the flow text on the page?
I would think, I know that once it gets lower on the page, you get it either because Google doesn't get to it or because it is lower on the page, Google may value it less.
I think it's because if there's 3 columns, technically the 3rd column is lower than
Gotcha. It's possible. It's possible. And again, you never know exactly what they're thinking. But oh, he said that when you have those layouts with the columns, technically, like in the code, the 3rd column usually and the 2nd column usually come below the 1st column of text in the code text. So So that's, I mean, that's definitely possible. Alright. So that's about all I have on that. Are there any other questions at this point? Are we good? Okay, so once you have your on-page optimization in place, we have off-page optimization, and this is one of the things that has made Google really the giant in the search industry. And Miles touched on this already a little bit, when it's calculating how relevant a page is to a keyword, it's not just looking at the on-page factors, it's looking at who's linking to you, how many people are linking to you. It's really getting into analyzing these links coming into your website and analyzing the links coming into those links. So it's a really complicated process, and Google is the one doing most of it. It is the most complicated algorithm. So when you're optimizing your site, looking at who's linking to you is really important. And just looking at some of the things that Google cares about when it's looking at your links. It is looking at how many people are linking to you, but it's also looking at the quality of those sites linking to you. And it's looking at who's linking to them to try and determine if they're a quality site. It's also looking at the relevance of the linking sites. You know, in the case of CDI Solutions, who makes kind of oil pipeline valves, this link on this slide is Marwin Valve. It's one of their, they distribute Marwin Valve brand products. So it's highly related to their industry. If they were, you know, if they had a link on, I don't know, a gardening site, you know, I mean, that still lends some value to the site, but not as much for the keywords that they're really targeting. Also, looking at the anchor text of those incoming links, if, for instance, this link said CDI Solutions control valves, that would be even better. It would really bump Google's perception of, you know, CDI Solutions relevance to the word control valves. It would really help that. So, some of the easy ways to kind of begin link building. Again, I mean, like in the case of CDI, you can contact, you know, partners, customers, affiliates, people that you work with, and say, you know, could you provide a link to the website? If you can specify some of the anchor text, even better. And in some cases, they may want a link back from you. That's okay. It's preferable to have the one-way links, but don't reject the, we call them reciprocal links, the links back to the other person if that's going to harm your business relationship. And also, you can contact or look at organizations that you belong to. Lots of organizations list either directories of the people involved, like in this case, Apogee appears in the directory of SEMFO organizations, or I mean, Better Business Bureaus lots of times will have a list of companies that belong to them. You can also look at directories. There are lots of online directories. Some of the major ones, there's the Yahoo directory is one of the biggest, business.com. There are lots of local directories out there, and this kind of goes also to Miles's local search presentation. If your business operates in Austin or a specific town, look for directories out there. City Search, Austin has numerous different directories that people use to, you know, Chamber of Commerce. I mean, and that can drive some traffic as well, plus provide a quality link back to your website. Are there questions?
Is it alright to link, is that an image, so somebody